billions of app reviews, millions and millions of apps out there. Every time you leave feedback for an app, maybe just a quick star rating or maybe a detailed comment about a bug, do you ever stop and wonder if anyone actually sees it?
Right. Or if the developers even, care what you think.
Exactly.
It's a huge question, really gets to the heart of user experience and, honestly, how businesses succeed in the app world today.
Yeah.
And the data. Well, it suggests ignoring that feedback.
Yeah.
It's not just, like, bad manners. It could be fatal for the app.
Okay, fatal.
Yeah.
Let's definitely unpack that. We've got access to this really interesting new report that dives right into this. The App Reputation Benchmarks 2025 from AppFollow. So our mission today is basically to crack this thing open, pull out the key data, the important insights, and give you kind of shortcut to being, well, really informed about where things stand with apps feedback and developer engagement right now.
And in this deep dive, it's built on a seriously massive data set. The report looked at over 12,000 top apps. We're talking Android, iOS, the whole lot. And the amount of feedback they analyzed. Over 5 billion reviews. Just think about that number.
5 billion.
Wow. Yeah. And that data covers almost all of 2024, from January 1st right up to December 15th.
So this is way more than just, who's got the highest star rating. This is about digging into that relationship between developers and users, how much it varies between, say, a game and a finance app.
Exactly. And what that difference actually means for success in 2025. The report's CEO puts it very bluntly, basically saying that ignoring App Store feedback now is pretty much commercial suicide.
Commercial suicide. Strong words.
They are. But as we'll see, the data paints a really compelling picture, sometimes a surprising one that kind of backs up that strong statement.
All right, let's jump in then. What about the big picture, those major cross-industry trends? If you average everything out, what does it look like?
Well, the report doesn't really sugarcoat it. It lays out what it calls the brutal truth. Across all the industries they looked at, the overall average star rating is just 3.88.
3.88, okay.
And the average reply rate, so how often developers actually respond to reviews, it's only 14%. 14.
Wow, 14% average reply rate. That feels incredibly low.
It is low. The report's takeaway from that is pretty stark. Most apps are terrible at customer service.
Okay, but I guess the sheer amount of reviews must play a part, right? Some apps must get way, way more feedback than others.
Oh, absolutely. You've hit a key point there. The difference in just the volume of reviews it's staggering. The report highlights these extremes in monthly reviews per app.
Okay.
So, social apps on Google Play, they're just drowning in feedback. They get an average of 4,865 reviews per app per month.
Whoa, nearly 5,000 reviews a month for one app. Okay, suddenly that 14% reply rate starts to feel maybe a tiny bit more understandable, even if it's still not great.
Right. It's described as a fire hose of opinions. Now, compare that to, say, business apps.
How do they compare?
They only get about 356 reviews per month.
356 versus almost 5,000.
Exactly. It's a 13-fold difference.
Right.
And that huge gap in volume, it just changes everything. A developer's ability to even read it all, let alone respond thoughtfully.
Yeah.
It's a totally different challenge.
So, a different scale of problem. But do developers prioritize differently? Like, do they focus more on the negative reviews, the complaints?
Now this is where it gets really interesting. You start to see priorities emerge. The report looks specifically at the median reply rates to negative reviews.
Yeah.
Those harsh one-star ones.
Who's responding?
Finance apps lead the pack. They respond to a pretty significant 41% of negative feedback.
Okay, so maybe when money's on the line, they suddenly find the motivation to deal with unhappy users. Is that the implication?
The report pretty much says that, yeah, it suggests developers suddenly find the time to care when money's involved. Meanwhile, social apps may be just overwhelmed by that fire hose of feedback.
Yeah.
They're at the very bottom. They only respond to about 4% of negative feedback. Just 4%.
Wow. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? Like, finance apps are the super attentive friend when something goes wrong, and social apps are, well, the friend who leaves your urgent message on read for weeks.
That's actually a surprisingly good analogy for what the data shows.
Okay, let's flip it then. What about the positive side? The ratings themselves. Which categories are doing well?
Health and sports apps. They consistently come out on top with high average ratings on both platforms. Like on Google Play, their average is a really strong 4.6.
4.6, nice.
The report suggests this kind of health halo effect. People just seem to really appreciate apps that help them get fit or track their well-being.
Makes sense. And who's lagging behind?
Business apps again. They trail behind with averages like 3.93 on Google Play. It seems like those utility apps, especially ones tied to work, just don't generate the same kind of positive feeling.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, the report brings in this metric called the reply effect. Can you break that down for us? What does it measure?
Absolutely. The reply effect is super important because it tries to quantify the actual impact of responding. It measures how much an app's rating changes, usually improves, after a developer responds to a review.
Oh, okay. So it tells you if actually bothering to reply makes a difference to your score.
Exactly. Does your effort in engaging actually move the needle?
And how does that vary? Does responding have more impact in certain
Oh,
categories?
massively. Let's use Google Play as the main example here. Finance apps. They see a massive 1.22 reply effect.
1.22. What does that mean in practice?
It means when finance developers respond, it genuinely, significantly helps improve their overall ratings. It makes a big difference.
Okay.
But then you look at travel and local apps. Their reply effect, it barely registers. It's tiny, like 0.046.
0.046. So almost nothing.
Pretty much. The report basically says responding here is practically pointless if your only goal is boosting the rating number itself.
That's really interesting. So for finance apps, maybe users have specific problems about money and getting a helpful response fixes it and makes them change their rating.
That could be it, yeah. Sensitive issues where clarification helps.
But for travel, maybe the bad hotel or the delayed flight was the experience, and a developer saying sorry afterwards doesn't really change how you feel about it.
Exactly. It shows the value and the impact of a response isn't the same everywhere. It really depends on the industry and why the user left the feedback in the first place.
Right. And speaking of how users feel, the report looks beyond stars, right? At customer sentiment, using CSAT and sentiment score.
Yeah, they analyze the actual text of the reviews to get a sense of the underlying emotion, satisfaction, frustration, that kind of thing. On Google Play, entertainment apps lead the CST scores with a positive 0.542. People seem generally happy with them.
Okay.
But photo and video apps, they actually have a negative CS score, negative 0.045. So overall, more dissatisfaction expressed there.
So people are happier watching movies than trying to edit photos, maybe.
That seems to be the trend in the data. And on the App Store, health and sports lead sentiment again, 0.409 positive. Business apps, bottom again, negative 172.
Poor business apps.
It's a tough gig. The pattern holds. Apps that help people enjoy life tend to get more positive sentiment. Utility apps that might have friction points, they often get lower or negative scores.
Okay, that gives us a great overview of the big picture. But the report really gets interesting when it zooms in on specific industries. Let's start those deep dives with gaming. The report calls it a world of parallel universes. Why?
It's a striking phrase, but the data really backs it up. If you look just within gaming, but break it down by genre on the App Store, the reply rates are just wildly different.
How different?
Okay, so trivia games, they show decent engagement, a 31.6% reply rate.
All right.
But action games, a tiny, almost 0.97% reply rate.
0.97%. That's basically nothing. It's like completely different approaches.
Exactly. Parallel universes. One group seems to be trying to engage, the other just isn't.
What about their ratings? Any quirks there?
Yeah, there's a weird paradox. iOS gamers actually give higher star ratings on average, 4.30 compared to 4.16 on Android.
Okay, so iOS users are more generous with the stars.
But their written reviews on iOS, they're actually less positive, averaging 3.63 compared to 4.07 on Android.
Wait, hang on. Higher stars, but more negative comments on iOS. How does that work?
It's really complex, right? It suggests maybe iOS users give the star rating quickly, but then use the text box for more detailed, sometimes quite critical feedback. The report actually quotes some gaming companies like SYBO and Visor, saying how important it is to listen to those really engaged, sometimes critical players.
Makes sense.
And others like G5 Entertainment, Scopely, Tokaboka. They talk about using AI and automation just to cope with the sheer volume, trying to find that balance.
Okay, interesting stuff in gaming. Let's shift from games to money. Finance apps, we saw they were leaders in replying to negative feedback.
Yep, definitely the customer service champs, especially on Google Play. Their total reply rate there is 55.3%. That's huge compared to 27.8% on the App Store.
Wow, so Google Play Finance apps are basically twice as engaged.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and we already heard that engagement really pays off for them on Google Play with that big reply effect.
Absolutely. That massive 1.21 reply effect on Google Play shows responding really works to boost ratings there. On the App Store, though, the effect is much smaller, only 0.19.
Okay, so responding helps way more on Android than iOS for finance. Why? Is there a reason for that difference in impact and why they reply so much more on Android?
The report points to something crucial: reply delay, how long it takes to respond.
Ah,
On Google Play, finance apps average a response time of about 23 hours. Pretty good.
okay, within a day.
But on the App Store, the average is, well, the report calls it glacial. It's 113 hours.
113 hours, that's almost 5 days.
Yep. Nearly 5 full days to get a reply on average. And the report says this huge delay on the App Store is largely down to a longer review response verification process with App Store Connect.
Apple's system itself is causing the delay.
That seems to be a big part of it. So even if the iOS developer replies quickly, the system holds it up. It makes the Android dev look like the attentive friend replying in a day, while the iOS dev seems like that flaky acquaintance taking nearly a week.
That explains a lot about the platform difference. Okay, let's move to shopping apps. The report sounded surprisingly negative about them.
It did. It called their reply rates abysmal. They just don't engage much. Only 6.9% reply rate on the App Store, 23.8% on Google Play, much lower than finance.
Okay, low engagement.
And like finance on iOS, they're slow to reply when they do. 108 hours on the App Store, 36 hours on Google Play.
So they barely reply, and it takes days. What was that kicker you mentioned the report found about their responses?
This is the really weird part. The report found a negative reply effect for shopping apps on the App Store, minus 0.08.
Negative. Wait, you mean replying actually makes their rating worse on iOS?
Exactly. It
Yeah.
seems totally counterintuitive, right? But the data suggests that on iOS, when shopping apps do manage to respond, they're doing it so poorly that it's actually making things worse.
How is that even possible? Are the replies just generic? Annoying.
The report doesn't specify exactly why they're so bad, but it implies they're just not helpful, maybe even aggravating. Think generic, copy-paste replies that don't address the actual problem, or just point you to an FAQ.
Wow.
Engineer Indius from AppFollow is quoted calling it self-sabotage. Apparently, for shopping apps on iOS, silence is better than a bad response.
Self-sabotage. That's incredible. But then there's that other paradox. The report also says shopping apps somehow have higher sentiment scores than finance. How does that work? Bad service, but people feel better about them.
It's one of the most confusing findings, honestly. Maybe for shopping, the core experience, finding a deal, the excitement of buying something, the app working smoothly for the purchase itself, maybe that generates enough positive feeling to outweigh the bad customer service for a lot of users.
Huh. So the app's main job creates good vibes that the bad support can't completely erase.
It's a possible explanation for that strange disconnect.
Fascinating, right?
Totally fascinating. Okay, let's switch to the golden children, as the report calls them, health and sports apps. They really seem to be. They have stellar ratings across both platforms, highest averages overall, 4.67 stars on App Store, 4.76 on Google Play.
Wow.
And they get way more 5-star ratings compared to 1-star ones. It seems people just generally love their fitness trackers and health apps.
So high ratings, good feelings. What about engagement? How do they interact?
They have some really interesting patterns here. On the App Store, they're actually quite responsive.
Yeah.
A total reply rate of 33.9%, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And they focus on problems. They reply to 57% of 1-star reviews.
Okay. Impressive responsiveness to unhappy users on iOS. What about Android?
It's different on Google Play. The overall reply rate is much lower, only 11%. But they still prioritize the negative feedback, replying to 56% of 1-star reviews, almost the same as iOS.
Okay, so still focused on the problems.
Here's the twist. They only reply to 6% of 5-star reviews on Google Play.
Only 6% of the happy ones.
Right, so the report literally asks, do Android devs in this category only care when you're unhappy?
That's a really specific difference. High engagement with complaints on both, but way less appreciation for positive feedback on Android compared to iOS. Any idea why?
Hard to say for sure. Maybe on Android, the strategy is pure damage control, just fixing problems. On iOS, maybe there's more focus on community building, thanking fans. It's a clear difference in strategy between the platforms for this category.
And does replying help their ratings? What's their reply effect like?
It's strong on Google Play, 0.69. So responding definitely helps ratings there. On the App Store, it's more modest, 0.11, similar to finance.
Okay.
But overall, they lead in sentiment scores on both platforms. That health halo seems very real. Dina Borisevic from Flow Health is quoted talking about using AppFollow to give faster support and spot user trends.
Sounds like a category that really benefits from listening, despite those platform quirks. Okay, last industry deep dive. Entertainment apps. The report calls this high impact, low effort. Why?
Because despite being super popular, They are basically the least engaged category by far. The reply rates are described as pitiful.
How pitiful.
Just 3.3% on the App Store, 5.4% on Google Play. It's like they've adopted this celebrity approach. They exist, you might love their content, but they're probably not going to reply to your comment.
Okay, so that's the low effort. Where does the high impact come from?
This is maybe the biggest surprise in the whole report. When entertainment apps do actually respond on the App Store, they see an absolutely astronomical 2.11 reply effect.
2.11, that's off the charts.
It really is. It's the highest of any category by a long shot.
Wow.
The report interprets this as proof that in entertainment, quality trumps quantity. Because replies are so rare, when one does come, if it's thoughtful or helpful or even just witty, it stands out hugely. It has this massive positive impact.
That's incredible. It suggests the bar is just so low that any decent interaction feels amazing to users.
Precisely. A rare good response makes a huge difference. It's also interesting that the App Store has slightly more review volume overall for entertainment. And Natalia Numa from NBC Universal talks about how managing reputation is becoming more strategic for streaming services, not just reactive.
So entertainment apps barely engage, but when they do, it makes a massive splash. Wild. Okay, that wraps up the industries. Let's look ahead. What does the report say about future trends? How is this whole feedback thing evolving?
Well, the report argues pretty strongly that we've moved into an AI-powered feedback ecosystem. Anatoly Sharifilin's quote really captures it. Companies using modern tools for feedback management are pulling dramatically ahead.
And how is AI making that happen?
It's enabling different approaches. Some devs use AI to help draft replies faster, others have hybrid systems. AI handles some, humans handle complex ones, and some are using fully automated systems for certain types of reviews.
So it makes support teams more efficient.
Exponentially more effective, according to the report. Even smaller teams can handle much more. But crucially, AI isn't just about responding.
Okay.
It's also key for product insights extraction.
Sure.
Using AI to analyze billions of comments to spot patterns, find bugs, see feature requests, basically. Mining that gold mine of user feedback for product development clues.
So turning comments into actual product improvement.
Exactly. The report predicts the gap between companies that do this well and those that don't is just going to get wider. Automation isn't a luxury anymore. It's how companies scale the user experience. Miyuki Barsk from Opera is quoted on this.
And how does all this reputation stuff connect to actually growing the app, like getting downloads or running ads?
There's a direct link. Good reputation management feeds into ASO App Store optimization, how people find you organically.
Right.
And it also impacts paid ads, like Apple search ads or Google app campaigns. Victor Orlov from Asapti explains that high review scores directly impact conversion rates, especially for subscription apps. This means your reputation directly affects how well your paid advertising performs.
So bad reviews can actually make your ads more expensive or less effective.
That's the connection, yeah. Good reputation becomes part of your competitive edge alongside your ad creative and targeting.
Okay, so what are the big practical takeaways for businesses reading this? What should they actually do?
The report boils it down to a few key things. First, manage all reviews, not just the bad ones. Thank your 5-star fans. Builds loyalty.
Okay.
Second, use automation and AI. Set up rules, use templates, keyword triggers, let AI suggest replies, maybe even handle common bug reports in bulk.
Makes sense.
Third, track how your team is doing response times, reply rates, sentiment impact. Fourth, use feedback for smart ASO. Understand what users say about you and competitors to improve how you get found. Tools like missing keywords or keyword spy are mentioned.
Using feedback for discovery. Got it.
And finally, if you're global, use tools to handle different languages and feedback.
Really practical advice. And the report ends with a pretty strong message about the minimum standard now, doesn't it?
It does. Shrilin's closing thought is basically that app reputation management isn't optional anymore. The data shows the minimum acceptable rating has been firmly established at 4.0.
4.0 is the baseline now.
Yeah, and the leaders are pushing way past that towards 4.5 and higher. The market's really splitting between the innovators using feedback strategically and those still ignoring their most vocal users and likely falling behind because of it.
So if your app is sitting below 4.0 stars right now, this report suggests you're already below what the market expects.
That's the clear message, yeah. Just putting an app out there and hoping for the best isn't really viable anymore for competitive apps.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What are the big takeaways from this deep dive into the AppFollow App Reputation Benchmarks 2025 report?
Well, I think the biggest one is that just having a good app isn't enough anymore. How you listen, or crucially, how you don't listen to your users, makes a real tangible difference. It affects your ratings, how users feel about you, even how well your ads work.
Yeah, and we saw some really surprising things, right? The shopping apps that somehow stay popular despite terrible engagement.
Right. Or the entertainment apps where a single reply has that massive impact because it's so rare.
And those weird platform differences, like how finance apps are super responsive on Android but slow on iOS because of the system, or how health apps thank users more on one platform than the other.
Exactly. Loads of nuances.
Yeah.
And the huge underlying trend is AI. It's not just changing how devs respond, it's changing how they learn from users and how they plan their growth, connecting feedback directly to product development and marketing,
It's weaving feedback right into the core of app success.
making it actionable and scalable in ways that just weren't possible before. It's creating a real gap between the leaders and laggards.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener. Given how different user expectations are across industries and how differently developers behave, and now with AI set to shake things up even more, what does this mean for the future relationship between you and the apps you use? Will actively listening and engaging become even more critical for all apps? Or will smart AI allow some categories to succeed even if they keep users at arm's length with automated, maybe less personal interactions? Something to think about.